Did you know that some of the most stable systems in the world, processing billions of transactions every single day, are being labeled legacy and targeted for migration? It's almost like calling a Formula One car outdated because it doesn't have Bluetooth. But here's the real question: are we modernizing systems, or are we destabilizing the very engines that keep enterprises running? This is zMainframes, where we discuss enterprise systems beyond the code. Today we're exploring the tension between cloud migration and core stability. Is modernization always progress? Or does it sometimes introduce risk in disguise? So let's begin honestly. Why is there so much pressure to move to the cloud?
Partly, it's cultural. Cloud has become synonymous with innovation. If you're not migrating, it can feel like you're standing still. And then there's the word legacy. It's a loaded term. But systems like IBM Z or workloads running on ZOS aren't obsolete. They're highly optimized transactional platforms refined over decades for stability and throughput. They're not old because they're fragile. They're old because they work.
So when we talk about migration, we're not just talking about servers.
Exactly. Moving from a ZOS environment to platforms like AWS or Azure isn't just an infrastructure shift, it's a change in operating philosophy. And that's where the real trade off begins.
What changes philosophically?
Mainframe class systems are built around determinism, controlled concurrency, strict sequencing, predictable latency, failure prevention. They're engineered to minimize variance. Cloud native systems assume something different. They assume failure is inevitable, so they're designed for distribution. Horizontal scale, redundancy zones, retry logic, eventual consistency. Instead of minimizing variance, they absorb it. Both approaches are powerful, but they optimize for very different workload characteristics.
So this isn't stability versus agility.
Not exactly. It's vertical determinism versus horizontal elasticity. And choosing the wrong doctrine for the wrong workload creates invisible risk.
Migration business cases usually focus on cost savings, infrastructure, licensing, hardware, refresh cycles. Where do organizations underestimate complexity?
Behavioral equivalence. When you migrate from ZOS, you must recreate batch scheduling semantics, data locking guarantees, transaction rollback behavior, security boundary enforcement, audit traceability, and here's what's often overlooked. You must also recreate institutional knowledge, the way incidents are handled, the sequencing assumptions embedded in operations, the subtle behaviors that were never formally documented. Migration isn't just code movement, it's operational reengineering.
So organizations aren't just migrating code, they're migrating assumptions.
That's right, and assumptions are harder to validate than syntax.
Let's balance this. Where does cloud clearly outperform?
Elasticity sensitive workloads, digital front ends, mobile API services, AI inference layers, analytics pipelines, unpredictable demand spikes. If traffic increases fivefold within hours, horizontal scaling is superior. But if you process hundreds of millions of predictable transactions nightly, with strict ordering and compliance requirements, determinism can outperform elasticity. The mistake isn't choosing cloud, the mistake is applying one doctrine universally.
Sometimes migration becomes symbolic, almost political. Is that fair?
It happens. Cloud first mandates. No legacy narratives, but architecture should be workload first. When modernization is driven by optics rather than system behavior, risk accumulates quietly. The real question isn't, Can we move? It's what changes when we do.
And that brings us to hybrid architecture. Some see it as compromise.
It's not compromise, it's discipline. Keep core transaction processing on stable platforms like IBM Z. Expose API services outward. Run innovation layers in cloud. Move analytics where elasticity creates advantage. Hybrid isn't hesitation, it's deliberate workload placement. Instead of dismantling stability, you extend it.
If you were advising modernization leaders, what questions would you insist they answer?
Well, 5 questions. Is the workload elasticity sensitive or determinism sensitive? Is failure tolerable or catastrophic? Is sequencing critical? Is compliance deeply embedded in the architecture? And are we migrating capability or simply relocating infrastructure? If those answers aren't clear, migration is premature.
So, modernization isn't about abandoning the core.
No. It's about understanding system behavior deeply enough to place workloads deliberately. Cloud migration can be powerful, core stability can be powerful, but neither is automatically superior. What matters is clarity, clarity about risk, clarity about behavior, clarity about which systems truly need elasticity and which quietly depend on determinism. Modernization isn't about moving everything forward, it's about placing the right systems in the right environment for the right reasons. And that's where architectural maturity really shows.
In the end, it's not about the platform, it's about the decisions behind it. You've been listening to the zMainframes podcast, where we explore real world insights around IBM Z systems, hybrid and cloud modernization, DevOps transformation across platforms, and large scale enterprise evolution. If this episode added value, consider subscribing and join us as we continue decoding complex enterprise systems in a practical way. Until next time, keep thinking beyond the code